The NFL offseason is a time of optimism, ambition, and bold decision-making. Front offices convince themselves that one signing, one trade, or one draft night gamble can be the final piece separating mediocrity from greatness. Fans buy jerseys, analysts debate winners and losers, and owners approve massive contracts in the belief that tomorrow will be better than yesterday. But history tells us a harsher truth: not all offseason moves age well. By the time the 2026 season rolls around, several decisions made in the 2025 offseason are likely to be remembered not as turning points, but as cautionary tales. Whether it's overpaying a declining veteran, handing the keys to an unproven quarterback, or sacrificing the future for short-term hope, these moves have the potential to haunt franchises for years. Here are 5 NFL offseason moves that teams are likely to regret when 2026 arrives. 1. Overpaying aging star players past their prime. One of the most common mistakes NFL teams make is paying for past performance instead of future production. Big-name veterans with Pro Bowl resumes often command massive contracts on the open market, but football is unforgiving to aging bodies. During the 2025 offseason, several teams handed out long-term, high-dollar deals to players already approaching or past the age cliff, particularly at physically demanding positions like wide receiver, edge rusher, and running back. Why this will be regretted? By 2026, the decline often becomes impossible to ignore. Speed fades, injuries linger longer, recovery time increases, and yet, the salary cap hit remains enormous. Teams that commit guaranteed money into a player's age 32, 33, or 34 season frequently find themselves stuck. Unable to cut the player without massive dead money. Unable to trade the contract. Forced to reduce snaps, lowering value even further. The bigger impact: when a large portion of the salary cap is tied up in a declining veteran, younger talent often suffers. Teams can't extend emerging stars, can't be aggressive in free agency, and can't pivot quickly when the roster underperforms. By 2026, these deals often look like anchors, dragging down competitive windows instead of extending them. 2. Betting the franchise on an unproven quarterback. Quarterbacks remain the most valuable and dangerous investment in professional sports. In the 2025 offseason, multiple teams doubled down on untested or inconsistent quarterbacks, either by naming them unquestioned starters or handing them lucrative extensions. Some of these quarterbacks flashed potential, but lacked consistency, playoff success, or a full season of elite play. Why this will be regretted? By 2026, teams that made these bets may realize they confused potential with certainty. NFL defenses adjust quickly. Once tendencies are exposed, quarterbacks must evolve, or fail. Many do the latter. Common outcomes include regression after defensive coordinators gather film, confidence collapse after early struggles, locker room frustration when progress stalls. The contract trap. The real pain comes when the quarterback's contract kicks in fully. Cap hits balloon, flexibility vanishes, and suddenly, a team is locked into mediocrity because admitting failure is too expensive. In 2026, some franchises will still be explaining why they're one more year away, while quietly searching for an exit strategy. 3. Trading away draft capital for short-term fixes. Nothing signals desperation like trading multiple future draft picks for a veteran who doesn't fundamentally change a franchise's trajectory. In the 2025 offseason, several contenders and pretenders mortgaged their futures to address immediate weaknesses. While these moves created headlines and hype, history suggests many will age poorly. Why this will be regretted? By 2026, the cost becomes painfully clear. Lost first and second round picks. Lack of young, cheap talent. Aging rosters with no pipeline of replacements. Draft picks are the lifeblood of sustainable success. They provide cost-controlled stars and roster depth. Teams that repeatedly trade them away often enjoy a brief spike before a steep collapse. The rebuild problem. When these short-term gambles fail, teams are left with expensive veterans, limited draft capital, no clear rebuild path. In 2026, these franchises will envy teams that exercised patience rather than chasing quick fixes. 4. Ignoring the offensive line in favor of skill positions. Few mistakes are as quietly devastating as neglecting the offensive line. During the 2025 offseason, several teams invested heavily in flashy positions, wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs, while leaving protection as an afterthought. This decision rarely looks bad in March. By October, it often becomes disastrous. Why this will be regretted? By 2026, the consequences are clear. Quarterbacks take unnecessary hits. Injuries pile up. Offensive timing collapses. Star skill players underperform due to lack of protection. Even elite quarterbacks struggle behind poor offensive lines. Development stalls. Confidence erodes. And fans begin questioning decisions that once seemed exciting. Long-term damage. Offensive line neglect doesn't just affect one season, it alters careers. Young quarterbacks develop bad habits, rush throws, and lose trust in the pocket. In hindsight, teams will realize that protection, not playmakers, should have been the priority. 5. Letting homegrown talent walk to save money. Perhaps the most emotionally damaging regret comes from allowing homegrown stars to leave in free agency. In the 2025 offseason, several teams chose fiscal caution over loyalty, declining to re-sign players they drafted and developed. At the time, these decisions were justified as smart cap management. Why this will be regretted. By 2026, many of those same players will be thriving elsewhere. Posting career-best seasons, becoming team leaders, delivering playoff performances. Meanwhile, their former teams scramble to replace chemistry, leadership, and production, often at a higher cost. The culture cost. Letting respected veterans walk sends a message to the locker room: loyalty is optional. Over time, this erodes trust between players and management. Teams don't just lose talent, they lose identity. Final thoughts. The NFL never forgets. The NFL moves fast, but it never erases mistakes. By 2026, fans, analysts, and executives will look back at the 2025 offseason and ask the same familiar questions. Why did they pay him that much? Why didn't they address the offensive line? Why did they believe that quarterback was the answer? Why did they sacrifice the future for a gamble that didn't pay off? Every offseason creates winners and losers, but true judgment comes with time. In 2026, these 5 moves are likely to stand as reminders that smart team building requires patience, restraint, and long-term vision, qualities that are far rarer than optimism in the NFL.